You know the man.
President Trump?
That's him, yeah. Listen, he's got a serum for what's wrong with you. And if you could just talk to him, get with him, then everybody could be...
Yes, everybody could be what?
Everyone. Well, everybody could be normal again.
I see. You mean we could be as we were before?
Yeah, I guess so. The way we were.
The way we were. And that's what Trump thinks we want. Is that why he sent you?
He didn't send me.
Silence! Oh, yes. He sent you to offer us something from his world, to change us back to the creatures we were. A trick! A trick to weaken our resolve.
I was almost like you, but he saved me. He brought me back. And he wants us all to go away from here.
You have been damned. Don't you see that? Don't you? Prepare the family.
I don't have it. Have what? The plague.
I'm immune. I can come down and start kissing everybody. I'll kiss every guy, man and woman, man and woman. Look at that guy, how handsome he is. I'll kiss him. Not with a lot of enjoyment, but that's okay.
And Corn Pop
You
was...
There we go, brother.
That's an awesome opening. Once again, proving that Donald Trump is the funniest comedian out there, bar none, for the last 100 years, probably. He's just hysterical.
I mean, Bob Hope was pretty good. Bob Hope was pretty good.
He had somebody write his jokes. He can't do improv like the way Trumpster can.
Yeah, that's true. He does have an improv. And
Namaset. Holy Spirit Namaset.
Adam Sandler's pretty funny too. Yes.
Yeah. I'm a big fan.
Whatchamacallit, the guy from
Dennis Miller, and
Dennis Miller's funny.
It's Rob Snyder. It's all. You can do it.
But the other one,
Coming Home, and
Jeff Foxworthy's funny. Come on, you might be a redneck if.
Yeah, he's okay. And who else? The
guy from Tool Time.
I'm still, I know you're going to say with him next, but I'm still a fan of course, the great Al Bundy, the greatest of all.
Of course, Al Bundy, the greatest.
And Bill Cosby, I'm still a fan. Sorry, went to Temple. Temple.
Temple. That's a Temple thing. All right, I'll give you that. We'll pass that through. So, what do we have for tonight's show, brother?
Shoe.
What's our show? Benny Goodman. What's up for our show tonight?
Are you going to do the list? We're doing Jake the Fake first, and then we're doing Holman and Somaliland, and we'll have every show has to have something completely inappropriate that's going to get kicked off of YouTube and all the platforms. And of course, you're going to drop the skinny word, which is racial epithet for Somalilanders.
I think you just dropped it.
Well, I know I said it in quotes, air quotes. So you're going to drop it, and then I think we're going to do
our armed forces in
Act Blue and great movie, Black Hawk Down, written by a liberal, right? And then Tucker, and then AI is a bitch, which is the truth. Could be. And I'm going to do a little of that. So,
all right. Well, then, in that case, why don't we get started with Fake Tapper himself? This from Sky News, Australia. I'm sorry, something happened. Whoa.
I can hear it though.
Yeah, no, that wasn't supposed to play.
Okay, but I can hear it. Woohoo! We're ahead.
So fake Tapper.
Fake.
We can't find it. I couldn't find it. I had to look all over. Finally, I found Sky News Australia.
Of course.
Pick it up. So here we go.
After nearly 5 years of investigation, the FBI finally announced that they had arrested a suspect accused of planting pipe bombs near the Republican and Democratic National Committee headquarters the night before the January 6, 2021 Capitol attack. Brian Cole Jr., a 30-year-old white man from the D.C. suburbs, is charged with transporting an explosive device in interstate commerce and with malicious destruction by means of explosion. CNN observed local and federal law enforcement outside his home in Woodbridge, Virginia this morning.
So, brother, I don't know. 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 I I have to admit that the first time I heard this and saw this, I thought it was a joke. I thought no one could be that
AI.
stupid.
You thought it was AI?
Yeah, I thought it was AI since it's such a bitch, right?
Well, now you know. Right. Now you know it's true because it's been scrubbed from the internet, right?
Yeah.
So the CNN bots have, and only a foreign news service, Australia, right, has it because they don't have the the CNN bots there.
It wouldn't be the first time that we picked something up from outside the country. Like India had a bunch of stuff when Biden was wandering around the fields and he had to be chased down. That was scrubbed. We had to go to India News for that.
India What's this scrubbing that's actually going on? That they're allowed to do. The bots to go on there and apparently scrub all this stuff. I mean, the internet should be free. That should be illegal and criminal. That should be something that should be criminalized on the internet. Scrubbing news, quote, scrubbing news like that.
Bro, I don't know if it's. I think two things are going on. I think first off, there likely is some form of scrubbing going on where they're cleaning, but we still have the Wayback Machine, which you can go back and find stuff if you really want to. But I think the other thing that happens with Google, especially, and I've seen this, and I know you've seen this, is they flood the zone. They flood the zone with every left wing. They have reliable left wingers that are going to talk about something. They're going to have the continued posting of stories connected to something. So in this case, if you Google it, you find a lot of stuff on, the bomber, the suspect, but you won't find anything about Jake Tapper, even if you include him in it. Because it'll be doing news stories. I apologize. I got something in my throat here.
And deliberately calling somebody who's black white because of political correctness. And the narrative. It can never be a black guy. It can never be a black guy. It can never have a black criminal.
Right. No, and I think that's really, I mean, do we think that Fake Tapper is two things? Is Fake Tapper either one, misreading it off because I was listening to the Five, and the Five, Jillian, she's a stand-in for one of the people, but she was like saying maybe he just misread it. And, if he misread it, that's an even bigger sin as far as I'm concerned, because that means that somebody sitting in the back room who has the time to do the research, who probably has the screen up.
Well, he has to have the screen up, right? He has to be seeing how it's presented.
Right. So I'm sure that we can put it on him too. I guess my overall point is they either have one, they're just completely oblivious to the reality of the world around them, or two, it's just the seeping out of what drives them, which is their far leftist ideology, like you described before, that you can't, it has to be a white dude, and he probably has to be a Republican in their mind, or some kind of conservative to have done all this. That's the other thing that they're probably, that I would say is seeping out. Not that I know that for sure, because I don't think we've gotten any social media posts, but if I was to have my my nether bits in a vice, I would say that would be probably most likely that this guy is a.
Well, get those nether bits out of that vice. I'm worried about you, brother.
So you should. Be. But I mean, I would say that most likely he's a leftist because, I mean, what we see with all the other things, the leftists are the ones who are the violent ones. I mean, Charlie Kirk, they tried to kill Trump twice. They tried to kill 2 Supreme Court justices. They tried to kill all those Republicans on the Hill. They've actually done the violence and set the violence in motion to do the damage. This is setting the violence in motion. It's hard to run from those facts. So anyway, brother, what's your thoughts on it?
Well, so then there's 2 thoughts to the reason why I brought it up. It's not even about about the actual case. It's one, it's about the news cycle and what to do about the fake news cycle. And 2, Trump is out there about the affordability because, again, on the stupid Sundays on the stupid deface the nation show, you got Scott Bassett out there and he's being grilled by Martha McCullough or whatever her name is, this fake journalist and the fake leftist Democrats who are now grilling all of a sudden they're worried about affordability, right? And affordability, and Trump comes out this week and says affordability is a fake term by the fake news media. That's absolutely right. These scum had no problem covering up for 4 years interest rates of 100. I mean, of the crap
30%.
Fed dropping the interest rate so right before the election, so Biden can be reelected. But sitting there doing nothing while inflation was over 100% for parts, 50% for everything else, and the dollar store went from $1 to $1.25 and $1.50. A store, and so they had no problem with so-called affordability. They hit it for 4 years under their regime. It really was a regime, a fake imposed regime on us. No problem. But now affordability, because it's the talking point, and it is. They have adjusted to Trump's flood. They couldn't play Trump man to man, right? And Trump, when he first came in, was flooding the zone, right? So he was running away with it. But now they've determined, now they got their ducks in a row. And what you see again and again is this fake news cycle that they are generating again and again and again, because allegedly the independents have now abandoned Trump because of a quote affordability, right? So, but let's go back in time a little bit, see how they've done this. Remember, it was they do the shutdown, and very instructively they do the shutdown. The fake press hides the fact that every day the Republicans in the Congress are voting to open the government, and yet again and again and again they
purposely hit it.
It's right. It's the Democrats. It's the Republicans shutting the government down. A lie. And so we come up with it's a Schumer shutdown, and they cover that up again and again and again. That Jeffrey Epstein, loving Hakeem Jeffrey Epstein's, is out there every day, talking about another one. Remember this one, the affordability crisis for healthcare. Now, it's an absolute fact. Not one. It's the healthcare that's in place now is Obamacare. Not one Republican voted for it ever. Right? They didn't vote for the subsidies during the pandemic. They didn't vote for it. Period. Nobody voted for it. No Republicans had nothing to do with this. The so-called Affordable Care Act. It was all turned out to be a lie. Obama lied to the American people. He said you couldn't. He said you keep your doctor. You can't keep your doctor. He said you can keep your plan. You couldn't keep your plan. He said this will drive prices down. No, 10 years later it drove prices up. Do you think any of these creeps have one scintilla of objective reality or integrity or professional integrity to say, well, wait a minute, Obama, this is all your show. You screwed this up. You Democrats screwed this up. No, but it's part of the healthcare is unaffordable. It's a Republican. You see this. You're going to see this week coming up. This is a Republican healthcare crisis because it's unaffordable, right? And so we see again and again this news cycle because Trump. And what they do is they cover up. Now they're very good now covering up all the amazing things Trump has done just this week. Whether it's the new Trump bucks, part of the problem of the young American Gen Z is they're not invested in the stock market and in American future, so they all want to become socialists. So one of the ideas they came up with is Trump accounts. You get $1,000 when you're a baby, for free. Well, all these people that are like, putting money in fake things like climate change can now put money in a school system, put in money in a state, or put money in just a general fund for these kids under like 200,000 or whatever it is for American kids. So American children are born, for the next few years, and the Treasury Department's holding an account for them of $1,000, not invested. And nitwit Martha McCallum that can't even read the proposal for it, and what's going to be coming out in July, and so it's not going to be interest, so it's not going to be gaining like 1% or 2%. It's going to be actually invested in mutual fund, so the stock market goes up as as Scott Besson said to her, it's like Warren Buffett said, he's your investor, he's your leftist investor, don't bet against the American market, don't bet against the American economy.
If you're gonna do that, you should peg all of those transactions to Nancy Pelosi's account, because then you'll guarantee
right.
She
should be leading the fund. Right. She should be leading the fund.
Her.
But now she's not in Congress. She's not going to be able to do any insider trading. So no.
Pick the next Democrat. Just pick the next Democrat.
Right. Or the eye patch. Remember the seal?
Yeah,
the seal?
patch.
So anyway, but
it could be Hakeem. It could be Hakeem himself.
Right. Well, no. It's Jeffrey Hakeem Epstein, right?
I would say it would be Cheryl, but she's leaving too. Destroy New Jersey.
But it's the cycle, and so then there's the Epstein cycle too, right? And this is the thing. So now Trump is, and so he's part of this is he's doing great work still. It's just it's going under. It's not being recorded. It's not being recorded. It's not being brought to the American people. The fact that he is. For 4 years they did nothing but destroy the economy and gas the economy and the energy department with $1 trillion of fake climate change crap. Right? It's going to take time to get that back in there. But already prices are lower for gasoline than they have in the last in a 5-year low. Why? 4-year low. Why? Well, because for the last 4 years. Before this last year, you had that idiot Biden in there doing everything he can to screw gas prices.
Well, John, don't forget,
so that's coming down.
Don't forget that I hope you're going to talk about the fact that every quarter when they would make these big pronouncements about how well the economy was doing because of employment, then they would have to also a month later lower those numbers because they lied about the fake numbers.
Right.
They use the government against us.
Right. So, and he still hasn't fixed, he's still not been able to root out all these people, but it's not his fault. He's only so much one man can do. Right. And so he is 2 battles, right, for ability. Yes, he's back on track for where again, this last month, we had 3% GDP growth to 4% GDP growth. Right. We had low inflation. So the tariffs are not causing inflation like they're claiming they are. We had energy prices come down.
John, we're supposed to be in a trade war. The economy is supposed to be in the hole.
Tank and all the rest of it. He gets no credit for the fact that we're not, and we're headed up. But just like so now just like in his first term, we had 3% growth. You remember we used to do the clothing too. Is like I guess he found the magic wand that Obama said he could never have because Obama only had 1% growth. Right? They didn't have any problem with that. Deface the nation creeps and all the rest of them and the leftist news. They had no problem with Obama and 1% growth for the 8 years he was in there. Right. So he's back on track. But that's the little war. That's the little war that Trump is doing. He's got a much bigger agenda and a huge one that's going to cost a little pain. And that is reordering American finances. OK, and so for part of that is the debt. And the only way you can deal with the debt is to grow our way out. But bigger than the debt. What he's doing is saving the middle class by bringing the jobs back. And the only way to do that was tariffs, right? And that's what he's doing. He's reshoring American manufacturing. He's reinventing American manufacturing and American getting this. That's the biggest piece of it all. That's bigger than the rest of the world. Although he has to tamp down the wars that Biden let loose, right? And the apocalypse that Biden let loose, that's big. But bigger than that, his number one, and this is why he is the progenitor of MAGA, and that's why all the fake MAGAs out there, like Nick Fuentes and all the rest of them, you name them, the Barneses, all of them, all these nitwits don't get it. MAGA is saving the American middle class, because if you don't save the American middle class, and we just fall into another dopey utopian aristocrat, crappy like they have over in Europe. That's it. It's done. So he has to save. So this is the big war that he's marching through relentlessly. That's his number one focus.
Don't forget, he's gotten either willingly deported or arrested and moved out.
That's the rest of it too. 2 million illegals. 2 million. So now they say, oh, it's only 300,000. Whoa. You're forgetting the South. You're lying again because you're not saying the self-deporting. And we know this is for a fact because 2 million. So when you do the statistics, 2 million foreign-borns have lost jobs, and unsurprisingly, at least 2 million American-born now have jobs, right? And so we are now in our lifetimes, only 2 presidents increased the middle class. How do you do that? You can see it's by being in your wallet. right? The American class got bigger. We got more power. Only two. Not even Reagan was able to do this. JFK and Donald Trump in his first term. And he's back on track on doing that, again, by dropping prices, by immigration, kicking out the illegals, and dropping energy, number one. The problem, though, is that Biden destroyed, just like he let loose apocalypse on the rest of the world. He destroyed American energy by getting rid of the refineries and stuff. And so it's going to take time, and the oil, the pipelines and stuff. So it's going to take time to bring that back, right? And so you're hearing, but again, what to do about the fake news cycle? And that's the other point that we wanted to start with today. What to do, because you get this. And it's like there's no moral equivalency between the right and the left. They are lying, evil Democrats, right? They're demon infested, right? We are not the judgies because we can't, because our God Jesus said don't judge, right? But they are puritanical, but not puritanical good with like New Englanders and Jesus Christ at the bottom of it. They're puritanical leftists with wokeism at the which is nothing more than cultural Marxism, which is nothing more than devil worship, right? So they're going to lie, and they're going to do everything they can to cover it up and lie. So what should we do? Now, I've always said, they should not have a monopoly on these monopolies for ABC, CBS, and NBC must be broken up. The airwaves must be taken away from them by having a lottery system. We should be on the airwaves just like anybody else, and the internet should the same thing. But this is what Trump can do, and he has to adjust, because now he's taking hits again and again and again by the fake news cycles, because they've got him fixed in Washington, right? And he is the best at what he does is improvising. What he should do is he should take the revolution to the streets. You make him force them by going to Chicago, right? Now, by going to an abortion center where they're killing black babies in the city. Why do you have this abortion center here? I'll tell you why. Because you're a bunch of racist pigs who like to kill black babies. Stop killing black babies. Take it to the streets. Take the revolution to the streets. Go into the inner cities. He could singularly break the stranglehold that the Democrat Party has on blacks by just going to North Philly, West Philly, what's left of West Philly, and saying to the black guys, listen, I'm trying to kick out the illegals, so you guys have jobs. And I'm trying to listen. You got to stop killing stop aborting the babies, because they're not going to be any of you left. He could take it to the streets. And listen, don't you like? If you want it, I'll put the National Guard on the streets. I'll put them on the streets. We'll give you protection. Dude, don't get in D.C. Because, and now part of this is, it's like, I can't, sometimes you see these idiots like Nick Fuentes, and he's going, oh, look, I'm real MAGA. Oh, I'm a real MAGA. You sit on your ass and you've done nothing in your entire life. You're a 27-year-old snot-nosed kid. Shut up. Right? He says, oh, Trump chickened out.
Is he that old?
Yeah.
Is he that old?
Trump chickened out by not putting the National Guard on Chicago. Listen, you don't understand the laws on this. He just can't just walk in everywhere. Now he can just declare martial law, but whatever he does, why isn't, what he can do is he can just go to Chicago and say, listen, if you ask me to, I'll take this hit, because I know, and this is the other thing too about, he's not, like the nitwits on the right, they're saying, this term is worse than the first one. He got nothing done in the first one. He got nothing done. You morons. We were all there. He tried to. They've never built a wall. Okay, you idiots. He freaking spent 4 years fighting through the fake judges and the fake courts to get a wall built. And I remember how many times he had cases where he had to send the lawyers to go fight it out, and it took 4 years. The reason why he could shut down the border this year on day number one was because he spent 4 whole years fighting through the courts to prove the point that he could. It's absolutely absurd, right? And he did shut the border down on day one, you idiots. Don't tell me how he hasn't done anything. You're full of crap.
The courts are worse now. They're more biased against
him. They're fighting against him too as he tries to do it again. As he's in charge of now, it's not the way I would do it, but you got to understand, Trump is a businessman. He's going to stay in the businessman lane. Now, what I would do is I start hauling these clowns in. I started arresting these clowns for getting in my way. I'm the executive. I'm president. I can fire anybody I want and do any of my executive rights. You get in my way, I'm gonna find you out for your Democrat ties that you should have recused yourself for. I'm gonna prosecute you for corruption. Okay, that's the way I would do it. But I'm a lawyer. You know, he doesn't. He's not a lawyer.
What would you call this news cycle issue? What would you call it?
It doesn't have a name. We argue.
You wouldn't call it the hoax news? Listen, I think that, you know,
the hoax news is really good. The hoax news cycle, right?
Yeah, I think it goes back even further. I mean, we know it goes back even further. They were trying to do this. Remember when they killed Charlie Kirk, and he was from a Republican. It was a Republican family. It has to be a right winger.
An extremist.
They kept going.
Extremist. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, there was a love story between, and they just every day they would attempt to recycle something else in order to divert the attention. And now they were mildly successful with that because it got a lot of people. They're very successful.
They have it convinced that somehow
$1 billion. It's right. $1 billion a day industry against
that's
us.
What it is. It is. And they have it. So he's an extremist and he said extreme things like he's Nick Fuentes. No, he didn't say the extreme things that Nick Fuentes said. Right. I should be hating on a 27-year-old idiot kid, but I'm not because he says a lot of right things.
They hate on a 33-year-old.
Nick Fuentes is not the problem.
33-year-old Christian that they claim was a Christian nationalist, as if that's somehow associated with the Nazis.
That's that's what they wanted. They want to call us Christian nationalists. Christian nationalists.
Bad education. It's bad education. They don't know what a Christian nationalist or a Nazi is. It's just ignorant.
When I get to Tucker, I want to bring that point up because Tucker had a great point about that. At least in one of our
things. We'll push that one aside until Tucker. I mean, that's fine. All right. So speaking of lying socialists, and let's talk about this lying socialist, who be our intro to the next segment. Here we go. This is Mandami telling the illegals how to avoid the ice cube.
I can't hear it.
Oh.
So if I can't hear it, they probably can't hear it.
Yeah, you're right. That's right, because I had the volume off. That was my bad.
Sorry.
That's okay. We'll start over from the beginning. Here we go.
Last weekend, ICE attempted to raid Canal Street and detain our immigrant neighbors. As mayor, I'll protect the rights of every single New Yorker, and that includes the more than 3 million immigrants who call this city their home. But we can all stand up to ICE if you know your rights. If you encounter ICE, these are the things that every New Yorker should know. First, ICE cannot enter into private spaces like your home, school, or a private area of your workplace without a judicial warrant signed by a judge. That looks like this. If ICE does not have a judicial warrant signed by a judge, you have the right to say, I do not consent to enter, and the right to keep your door closed. Sometimes ICE will show you paperwork that looks like this and tell you that they have the right to arrest you. That is false. ICE is legally allowed to lie to you, but you have the right to remain silent. If you're being detained, you may always ask, am I free to go? Repeatedly until they answer you. You are legally allowed to film ICE as long as you do not interfere with an arrest. It is important to remain calm during any interaction with ICE or law enforcement. Do not impede their investigation, resist arrest, or run. One last thing. New Yorkers have a constitutional right to protest. And when I'm mayor, we will protect that right. New York will always welcome immigrants. And I will fight each and every day to protect, support, and celebrate.
So, brother, this neo-Confederate, because that's what he is. He's a neo-Confederate. I hope he reminds them that if you get in front of one of the cars as it's driving away, that's not allowed. That's not allowable protest. If you try to stop somebody from being arrested, that's not allowable under the laws of protesting, and that will in fact get you arrested and for obstruction of justice. That's you don't get to interfere.
He doesn't actually know the law. You know, unfortunately, we've lost these battles with the Fourth and Fifth Amendment to a degree. Yes, they can stop you, and the police can stop you and identify you, and they can take as long as they want, even for a quote protracted stop. Unfortunately, we've lost these battles with the Supreme Court. They're not following the Constitution. I wish they would, but the police can stop you, and they can identify you, and they can take as long as they want to identify you. It's not constitutionally correct, but that's where we are, thanks to the idiot Supreme Court. And the Republicans who did that. It's the so-called conservatives who did that too. But so he's wrong on that too. But he's not a lawyer, and he doesn't do criminal law. So and yes, ICE can do that. And if there's reasonable suspicion or probable cause, they can come into your house. So don't be screaming at Reba, 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 or anything in Mexican. And don't fly a Mexican flag. Or don't call yourself the Mexican client. What's that stupid creep organization that wants to bring back that declares a California Mexican? Don't be part of that, because they go, wow, I'm suspicious about that. And you're just playing into it. But I think the solution to this is this: our people had to take a loyalty oath, right? Sinatra and company had to take a loyalty oath, right? Our great grandparents. We need to bring back loyalty oaths, and they should make loyalty oaths a mandatory in Congress, and make them say it every day. Make good old snake face Somaliland. Ilmar, who's she who speak with forked tongue, I believe. Make her take a loyalty oath, right? Now the problem, of course, is thanks to AIPAC, half of them probably couldn't pass a loyalty oath because we're loyal over to Israel. But oh well, at least we'll know.
Hey, listen, stop being so. You're just upset because you didn't get a check.
Right, I didn't get my AIPAC check. I'm looking for my guitar check, though. If anyone can tell Tucker, hey, while you're doing it, if you got any leftover, send it to me. But the next one.
So that also connects though to
well, you need a Holman.
Yeah, right. To the Holman and Dana Bash. So Dana Bash was pressing Holman on Trump calling Somalis garbage, and as you know from the movie Black Hawk Down, that the nickname
is what
the soldiers gave him was something a little bit more. They called them. There you go, brother. You ready? Skinnies.
All right, you're getting kicked. So now if we get kicked off of this time,
I just quoted it. It's your fault. Just using the name that they were called. But the point being is they were trying to say that they were targeting them, and I've heard him. Actually, it took me 3 interviews to find out which interview. I listened to CNN. He's been interviewed by this woman at least 3 times that I can find since Trump took office, and each time he has said, because they keep on trying to say you're racially profiling, because you're looking for people from Mexico or people from Latin America, and so you're just picking on those people. In this case, the Somali people, they're looking for people who look like they're Somali. So it's always about racial profiling on their end. And each time he has said, sure, we have a description of them. And if one of those things that's in the description says they have MS-13 tattooed on their forehead, that's something that's going to get us to pull them over. When we see that and say, and if they fit
reasonable suspicion
description, that's a reasonable suspicion. He says every 4 months, everybody has to review the you can tell the laws involving that. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he says this to this woman several times. It's why you can detain somebody, the reasons you can detain them. They every 4 months
probable cause law. Yeah, every
every 4 months they have to review it, and because that and it's again to talk about the numbers, John. She tried to throw in one of the interviews that Biden deported 600,000 people one year, and Holman goes, no, that the numbers are correct, but he didn't deport them. He just turned 400 or 500,000 of those people around at the border and sent them back under the Trump era that he hadn't changed yet. So it's just that whole thing that you were talking about, the media, where they manipulate the dialogue,
The hoax cycle. You named it. The hoax cycle.
This hoax cycle is not only embedded in like the topics that they're talking, and many people have done over the national airwaves the continually same dialogue that's being used night by night in different
the
parts
talking
of the
points,
country.
the Democrat talking points.
Yeah, they've been nailing that, and that really comes from corporate, and corporate is associated with the Democrats. If you need to look at it, you can see all the numbers, and maybe next show I'll prep that and I'll put that into what we're going to show. But this is the monopoly that John is talking about that needs to be broken up. The monopoly that when you have someone like Dana Bash asking the same question 3 or 4 times, and I know she's on cable, I know she's CNN, but what she does is no different than what you see on cable or the over the airways. Is that they did it with Trump? How many times was Trump interviewed saying, "Are you going to, are you going to deny white supremacy? Are you going to, admonish white supremacists? Are you going, always trying to like get him on record, even though he was on repeatedly already record for saying, I'm against white supremacy." And the reason why they do that is to insinuate white supremacy next to the name of Trump. And by doing so, they try to marry the names. And that's what they say enough times like that. They show that video enough times. Oh, the president was asked about white supremacy, and he gave a long answer to it. And they don't want to show the long answer, so they just say what he said. So again, it's all trying to put the information out there the way they want to, and they package it the way they want to with a slant. A slant is not just in the words that they're saying; it's how they're presenting it. It's how many times they're presenting it, and how many times when they get pushed back on, they're unwilling to say, "Oh, that's not what happened," because even though Holman here has said repeatedly, we're not racially profiling in many different ways, he said it. Even though he said it, she's still trying to accuse him of, you're going after the Somali people. There's not that many Somali people. Why are you, defending the same thing that we hear with the. Did anybody report on what Trump said the other day about 25,000 American lives being saved every time one of those drug boats gets blown up? No. Why didn't they do that? Because that's a good thing for Trump. That's a good thing for Republicans. That's a bad thing for the seditious six. That's a bad thing for the Democrats. So of course they're not going to put it out there, brother. Why? Because the moment they did, it blows up their entire storyline, and it makes them look like the fools they are. When are we gonna say enough is enough? They told us that a bat caused COVID-19. They told us that we couldn't talk about it. They told us that if we didn't take the vaccine, we were going to be killing other people. They told us that we needed to take the vaccine in order to go to work. Our kids had to stay home. The most healthiest group of people in the world, the special forces, had to be kicked out of the military if they refused the vaccine. And we're supposed to believe what's being told to us by the media. They told us that Trump was a Russian asset, even though that got blown up. They told us how many times did they use that lie against him through the first 4 years? That they went after him with the impeachment because of Ukraine. They went after him for the impeachment on Russia. They went after him on so many different things. And each time they came up that it was a lie. And what's at this point, you have to say to yourself, those people who are still supporting them have been brainwashed. They're the 1984. They're the Winstons, or they're the ones that Winston's sitting next to.
No, right. Remember the story. Winston was a truth seeker. Most of the people there, he was investigating a story about three individuals who were broken out, were like revolutionary in the sense that they determined that they had a position and they were disappeared, and he was investigating for them because he was trying to find the seek.
But all the people,
majority of the people around him,
were sucking it up. What they said.
were believing everything that they did. One day they were fighting against the Eurasia. The next day they're fighting against Oceania, right? And they say, well, wait a minute, they were just our ally. No, he was the truth seeker. That they had to stop.
I think that there is a real connection. I do think that there's a real connection between the fact that you see the cities being blue. I don't think it's because of culture. I think that's what a lot of people will say. I think what it is the fact that we have the airwaves that are free and available and out there for a lot of people who get their information, their news from that source. The free ABC, CBS, NBC. The monopolies. And I do think that if somebody, a enterprising lawyer who wants to because there's got to be a reason other. There's got to be a reason why if you look at the map, the rural areas are conservative and the non-rural areas are blue.
Well, there is. And remember, if you read a certain book that somebody had written a few years ago, you remember what we said about that a few years ago.
Well, why don't you refresh us, brother?
Is that they're dopey utopians, right? And that they have somebody do all their work for them. They have somebody who drives for them. They have somebody who gets their food for them. There's somebody who pushes the button on the elevator for them, and they have somebody who thinks for them. We're out in the rural areas. You have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of your own defense, right? In the cities, you have police to take care of your defense and your security. In the real world, you take care of it, right? And you have to do all the different things. You have to drive for yourself and all those things. That's why there's the difference between the cities, the dopey utopias of the cities, where people are even doing your thinking for you, and they're even pushing the buttons on the elevator for you. And out in the real world, out in the countryside, right. That's why we want to break up the states and break up the cities and get back to organizations that are only remember your Dunbar number, that are only 5,000 and below, so you can root out all the corruption and break up the monopoly, the political monopolies that they have in the cities. Right. That was our theory for the book that we allegedly wrote a few years ago.
No, I remember that. I just was letting you go. So having said that, let's talk about my next topic, which is they're investigating big news.
Well, you didn't do Holman. I thought you were going to put Holman on.
I just did. Right. I just talked.
Okay.
But I wanted to talk about with Act Blue. I have a couple clips from this that we can listen to. Here is the discussion on Act Blue.
As the allegations about a illegal. Wow, President Trump is directing the Justice Department to investigate Act Blue. This is a Democratic donation platform, and the focus as the allegations about a illegal straw donors and foreign contributions. Mark Meredith is live in Washington with more. This has been brewing for a while, Mark. What do we need to know?
Dana, for years, you're right about this, but this is a big development. The White House is directing the Attorney General to investigate the Democratic Party's top fundraising platform. It's called Act Blue, and the president says he wants to know if foreign money is being donated to the group and then utilized to sway elections. Democrats are calling this probe a dangerous abuse of power. Act Blue is an enormous operation in Democratic politics. It's raised more than $16 billion since 2004. You may have seen the text pop up from candidates saying, please donate, go to the Act Blue website. Republicans use something similar called Win Red. There was a new memo signed on Thursday directing the Attorney General to investigate if foreign nationals are using the Act Blue platform to bypass campaign finance laws. Trump wants a report out in 6 months.
So there have been complaints about this. There have been people, we saw that the guy who was laundering money, who did the, what was his name? He was donating to all the Democrats, and then he got Sam Bankman-Fried, that guy, laundering money that way. We know that
he did the Ponzi scheme for billions,
right? And then we have the laundering money from the U.S. We know that money's been used. There's been reports on that. Now, I understand that the Justice Department they're doing that because of they've gotten allegations. And because of that, they must be evil because this is coming from Trump and it's going after trying to clean up some type of that they've gotten reports on that there's something criminal going on. This is another example of the media hoax cycle that we see. No one reported on this, however, brother, which is, I'll just let it play.
Did you have complaints that formed the basis of your concern about the fundraising activities here?
We certainly had complaints about crisis pregnancy centers that petition.
No, about this crisis pregnancy center.
So I think we've been clear from the outset that we haven't had complaints about this specific.
So you had no basis to think that they were deceiving any of their contributors?
I don't think that's correct, Your Honor. I think we had carefully canvassed all of the public information that is provided on the website of First Choice in making a determination that we wanted to initiate an investigation.
But you had no factual basis?
I don't think that's true, Your Honor. I think, for example, you could take a look at a comparison between the donation page for First Choice that we have carved out from the very beginning.
So you had no complainants?
We had no complaints, but the state governments, federal government, initiate investigations all the time in the absence of complaints where they have a reason to suspect that there could be potential issues of legal compliance. And look, it could be the case based on our investigation, when we look at documents, when we look at information, that ultimately will determine that First Choice isn't liable for any violation
well,
of the law.
That just seemed to be a burdensome way to find out whether someone has a confusing website. But you said earlier that you did not agree with their characterization of why they were being put to this. And it would seem that the obvious way to refute that was to say we had 100 complaints. But you say you have no complaints, but rather you looked at the website and their materials and you think it could have been misleading. So why is your characterization any better than theirs?
So, Your Honor, I'd point you to the Turner.
So just the background on that. The New Jersey Attorney General is investigated this pregnancy crisis center, which is trying to help women not have an abortion. And it's investigating it with no complaints. And it's going after them because even though they're trying to say that they have some right for, to go in there, but they've had no complaints. The real background on this is if you're the AG from New Jersey, the blue state of New Jersey, the blue AG, and you're going after a conservative Christian pro-life group, and they want to keep in mind that the main reason what they're looking for is they want to see who's donated to this pro-life Christian organization, because then they can get that out there. And of course, what are they going to do with that, John? They're going to dox them and get them. So then you're not going to feel safe donating to it, cutting down your freedom to be able to do that. So ultimately, it's okay for the blue attorney general to go after the conservative Christian pro-life group with no complaints and no rationale other than we didn't like their website. But when we have President Trump with a list of complaints from multiple different groups and evidence like spilling out of the top of the tank of criminal behavior and taking money from where you shouldn't. And by the way, the big difference is if you go on to the FEC and you look at if Act Blue is filing their names correctly, I don't have to worry about my name being on there because it should already be there. Because when you file a donation, it's the FEC, the Federal Elections Commission, that is kept there. I can go back to my campaign and see everyone who donated to me when I ran, and that's the way it's supposed to be, so you can have transparency. But this is a pregnancy center that's helping It's health care for women, John. It's health care for women, and they're going after it. So I guess my point is, Trump bad, blue attorney general good. That's what it comes down to. Have you heard about this in the news media, John?
Well, I didn't know this is where you're going with it, but Thomas never speaks. For him to speak, it just shows you how slimy, unfortunately, lawyers are. The way he's just trying to cover over the fact that nobody complained about it, and that they're just on a fishing mission to go after donors, which is always protected under the First Amendment. Now, this is qualitatively different, though, than what Trump is doing about Act Blue, and you know the good. And well, it's I'll tell you why it's different, though, is because just look at the Somali thing. You know, and that's the thing too, is the media covered all this up while Tim Walz was running for vice president, and they covered this all up. Their complicity, they asked me, and they should be investigated for covering it up, because if they got any news that the Somalis were tagging off, the difference is this: if you're taking government money, the federal government money, they have a right to see where that money is going, and the money better go to where it's going. Now, I believe firmly that Politico should all be locked up, and that scumbag Bill Kristol, that Republican, because they all took money. Politico took $10 million from USAID, and Bill Kristol, scumbag, took $2 million. Now, unless there's and this is allegedly took this money, because maybe for all I know, out in Africa, they're in the middle of Somaliland in Africa, there's a Bill Kristol orphanage. There better be, because he took USAID aid. Now, somebody gave him that money. Somebody said yes to that. Same thing with Politico scumbags, right? Somebody said yes to that. Those people need to go to jail because they're taking tax money that was set aside for USAID, meaning where you take them, where American government, where American taxpayers say, okay, you know, we like the world, we are the world, right? See, so you got to save the world. So there better be an orphanage over there in Somaliland named after Bill Kristol, because if there's not, that scumbag needs to give back that $10 million, and he needs to be in jail for that. Now, that's the Somaliland thing, is they are deliberately committing fraud. If you commit fraud with federal money, that's a dumb thing, because the feds can come take you away and put you in jail. And it's not like the state where they put you in there for a couple of years. The feds put you away for decades, okay? So that's a dumb thing, and they're allowed to pursue that. Now these poor organizations, you know, protecting, trying to, you know, to give mothers, you know, who are going to get abortion an alternative, so they don't kill their baby, and they don't have to live with that for the rest of their lives, and they don't have that trauma and all the rest of it. They're not taking federal money, right? They're just doing their First Amendment rights to gather and associate. And there's no such thing as guilt by association. So that scumbag, you know, that scumbag lawyer, he's another one. You know, you're violating your rights. You're violating the rights of these people, and then you think you should get away with it. That's why we really, you know, this fake thing called sovereign immunity. You know, these people, you should be able to sue everybody. Everybody under the sun. There's nobody. This is America. We don't have a sovereign. We booted the idiot king out of here. The cops aren't sovereign. The judges aren't sovereign. The DAs aren't sovereign. Listen, everybody should have their day in court. I don't care how crazy they are. They should have their day in court, and they can be. They judge can say, oh, okay, you know, yes or no. You get your jury trial. The jury can say, yes or no. You know, and that's the way it's supposed to be. There's no so, and we've gotten this bad because clowns like that attorney general get away with this crap because you can't sue him. Everybody knows you can't sue him. He's literally lying to the Supreme Court justice. Thomas never speaks. Thomas just brings up the point. Listen, was there a complaint? No. Then why are you persecuting these people? You have no, what proof do you have? None. We don't like your website. That's not proof. That's not, you're an attorney general. You can't go investigating somebody, you know, unless you got some proof, unless you got some reason to do it, unless you're just doing it for political purposes. And if you're doing it for political purposes, you should be sued. You should have your asses sued. So for everything, you should lose your pension, stuff like that. That's what needs to happen. So there's accountability in the system, but they're hiding behind the fact that there's government, government immunity, so you can't sue the government. Idiot Supreme Court on that, and so Thomas never speaks. It's rare that he does. He's just pointing to point out that this clown lawyer is really far over his skis. And it's just out and out lying again, manipulating again. Whoa, you know.
But John, the vote will be 6-3. If it goes to that, it could be 5-4. But
well, we'll see.
I mean,
we'll see.
I have,
as bad as it, part of the problem is the so-called conservatives. Listen, there's a thing called we were just talking about reasonable suspicion. Where's reasonable suspicion in the Fourth Amendment? It's not there. Reasonable suspicion says probable cause, meaning more likely or not, means 51%. Completely invented stupid reasonable suspicion, right? The judges refuse to adhere to the Constitution, and it's usually the Republican ones or the conservative ones who refuse to do the criminal law ones. So who knows? Maybe because the Attorney General, and I have to say, even though a certain Supreme Court justice doesn't know what a woman is, she might vote for it. So vote against him because it's the Attorney General trying to prosecute. But we'll see. But
brother, we got 5 minutes left in the hour.
What do you want to do then?
Do you want to do Tucker? You can go over.
And we didn't do war crimes either. I just want to point out that for all the news, the hoax news cycle for war crimes. So anybody saying to that? So you're admitting that these narco boats are doing this at the behest of the Venezuelan government, right? Because you can't have a war crime unless you have a war. So are you saying that you're tacitly admitting that the Venezuelans know this is going on and they're deliberately sending these boats into America, right?
Maduro has been indicted for being a narco-terrorist. This is narco-terrorist behavior. If it walks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, it's a duck.
So the president has, unless the Congress says, no, you can't do it, he has all authority on prosecuting, on protecting the country. And that's what he's doing. Again, his number one pot of market is saving the middle class. And it's actually a twofold thing. It's the economic end of it, but it's also the stopping the fentanyl, which is what he's doing. And this is exactly what the United States military should be doing. If for no other reason, they're getting good target practice on a bunch of scumbags. Now I know this thing goes, the narco terrorists are putting innocent fishermen in those boats, and they're forcing them to do it. Fine. Oh well, then you know what they can do with those boats when they get out there? They can jump off the boat. They can do a lot of things. They can slow down, wave a white flag.
It just reminded me the hoax news cycle. Remember when they did the reattack on them, and Hegseth was on the radio and told them to do it again, and then it came out no, Hegseth wasn't there, but now it's a war crime, and it's the rules of engagement that were provided. Right.
Because if you miss the enemy one time, you're allowed to shoot at him again. Duh. Yes. You get to shoot at him until you get him. Hopefully you get him on the second time, but if not, you get to shoot again, a third, a fourth, until they're gone. Right?
Until they're dead.
That's what war is. And now you've all admitted that the Venezuelans it's a war crime because there's a war going on with Venezuela. At least you admit it. Finally, we're at war with the narco terrorists in Venezuela. So Trump came out, declared that the narco terrorists from Venezuela were terrorists. So that invoked his powers to kill terrorists. Congress didn't say no. So he said, okay. And this is the thing where knuckleheads like Hugh Hewitt don't get it. The Supreme Court has nothing to say about this, right? It becomes, at some point, if Congress can say, no, you're not allowed to do that, then it becomes a battle between the president and Congress, right? And they each have their own ways to battle that battle out. But Congress has not said no, so Trump is doing everything that we hired him to do, everything that he was supposed to do. He should be getting big kudos for this, because every one of these boats saves American lives that he's killing, from these terrorists, and he's completely 100% within the law as it's been set out by the Supreme Court, which you should be listening to anyway. But on this fact, until Congress says, oh, that's horrible, you got to stop killing those poor fishermen. They're just honest Venezuelan fishermen. I know that they're moving at 40 knots, but how fast fish are moving? They move at 40 knots nowadays. They got turbofans on them.
Brother, as today we're recording on December 7th, and for those of you who are unaware of your history, today is the 84th anniversary of the bombing of Pearl Harbor, the act which catapulted us into World War II. And to connect to connect with what John just said in our topic here with the protecting the law of fighting in a war, I thought I might share this meme that I posted earlier this week, brother. I don't know if you can see it. It's got a couple guys at D-Day and
Yeah.
on a landing craft, asking if they could ask Mark Kelly if they make sure that this is beach landing is not illegal.
Right.
So,
well, the only problem I have with the entire Venezuelan thing is this: they have goddamn JAG there that they have to go through the lawyers first before they pull the trigger. You got to be freaking kidding me. But that's the way it is. And by the way, nobody had any problem when Obama was doing 500 drone, killed 3,500 drone attacks on foreign countries, Yemen, all over foreign countries we're not going to war with, right? And killed an American teenager, an American teenage citizen. Which that's problematic because he has rights. And maybe you could say he declared war. That's a big war, thing I don't want to get into. But nobody had a problem when Obama was droning people away. It says, I didn't know how good I was going to be at killing people, but I'm really good at it. I really drone all these people.
Or when he mocked the whole thing and threatened Nick Jonas because when he was at that dinner, he said to any boy who was interested in his daughter, I got 2 words for you: predator drone.
Right. I mean, he was bragging flippantly bragging about killing, and they killed like 300 or 3,000, I forget, 3,000, terrorists, which is a good thing, but like 300 innocent civilians too were collateral damage. And listen, that's what happens when you're at war with America, and there was that movie where most of them were when they had the terrorists were masturbating in front of the computers, right where they were, and they droned them. That was hysterical in the movie. That's probably how it happened for most of them. But sometimes they killed, innocent civilians. Joe Biden killed, a father of 7 because he called him the terrorist who did the Abbey Gate bombing. He did. He killed it. No, they had no problem with that. They had no problem with that. The press had no problem with that, and it disappeared down the memory hole. Just like the Afghanistan withdrawal, just like the fact that that apocalypse was set loose by this nitwit who wasn't even president. The autopen was president, and the whole world went to crap. And Trump is having a heck of a time trying to get the world back to being normal again, to being peaceful. Are we done?
Yeah, we're at our we're at an hour, a little over an hour, bro. You don't want to say anything about Tucker?
Well, we don't have time for Tucker, and we don't have time for the AI is a bitch, but maybe next time.
All right. You want to do AI is a bitch?
Eventually. I don't know. We have time. We're at an hour.
All right. Everything. All right. That's fine. Ladies and gentlemen, we talked a lot about in the opening segment. We did a lot on that with the fake tapper. We did do a lot of the hoax media.
The hoax cycle. The hoax cycle. That's a good name for it. It's the hoax cycle.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, whatever it is, wherever platform you're looking at us on. We are on Facebook, YouTube, and I'm going to have to put our channel's names on it because I can't remember off the top of my head. And don't forget X. We're also going to try to get back on Rumble too. But that's all the show we have, brother. In that case, remember, brother, it's all good.
It's all good.
Because God loves you.
You know the man.
President Trump.
That's him, yeah. Listen, he's got a serum for what's wrong with you. And if you could just talk to him, get with him, then everybody could be...
Yes, everybody could be what?
Everyone. Well, everybody could be normal again.
I see. You mean we could be as we were before?
Yeah, I guess so. The way we were.
The way we were. And that's what Trump thinks we want. Is that why he sent you?
He didn't send me.
Silence! Oh, yes. He sent you to offer us something from his world, to change us back to the creatures we were. A trick! A trick. to weaken our resolve.
I was almost like you, but he saved me. He brought me back. And he wants us all to go away from here.
You have been damned. Don't you see that? Don't you?